It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Schick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
I'm here,
Awesome.
actually.
Doing.
How you like that energy and enthusiasm, folks? Woohoo!
Top dollar.
That's what we get for taking a week off, I guess. I don't know. Hope everybody's doing okay out there, and welcome to October. Because by the time this drops, it will be October.
Yay.
Yay.
So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Goodness. I don't really have a whole lot.
After 2 weeks, you have nothing.
Well, yeah. I do.
Well, the last nothing lasted 40 minutes, so, you know.
That's true. So now it's going to be about an hour and a half.
I'm waiting for Mikey to get caught up before I talk about Rings of Power again.
By caught up, she means started, but yeah.
I would be. It'd be like, blah, blah, blah. I am caught up on it now, though. And after, I think my last review, I'd only watched the first episode. And I'll tell you now, I was not impressed with the first episode. There's still certain things that I'm, like, not impressed with, but the story's finally getting there. And which is kind of sad because there's only 8 episodes and we're at episode 5. Like I said, the story's finally getting there. Some of it's kind of interesting because I know of a few things. I'm not like a huge like Tolkien knowledge or anything else, but I do know of a few instances that happened just because it was referenced on Lord of the Rings. And of course, you know, you go to Google and you fall down that hole. So I kind of know the outcome of what happens at Nemours, you know. So and it's kind of interesting when you see all of that coming to play because you've heard it, and now we're actually going to get to see what happened there. So that's kind of cool. And there's just one guy. I'm like, who the hell are you? I want to know. So. But yeah, I won't get into that because, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything because it is getting interesting. And I dare to say this, but I personally, I looked at the Lord of the Rings and I saw that was not necessarily a movie about a ring, but it was a movie about friendship. And we got to see not only Sam and Frodo form that friendship, but just all of the fellowship too. And that, you know, it was the friendship and kinship that kept them together. So to kind of see those kind of elements now coming into play with the Rings of Power, I'm kind of enjoying it more because we are seeing where those friendships are being made. And it like I said, it's kind of interesting. They have, you know, not too much of a spoiler here, but they have Elrond, who is friends with the Prince of Moria. I cannot remember his name right now, which is a dwarf. So we kind of see this beautiful friendship that they have. And then you look over to Lord of the Rings where you had Legolas with, was it Gimli?
Gimli, yeah.
And he absolutely despised him at first. You know, there was a definite hatred there between the dwarves and the elves. And it's kind of like, what happened there? You know, so I'm excited to see that in between, that there was a friendship there and then something happened, and I'm kind of gathering what's happening there. But, you know, once again, it's the friendship that's made this TV show a beautiful thing. And it's actually the friendship between those two that has kept me very interested in this. Some of the other stuff, you're kind of like, yeah, I saw that happening. You know, I knew that was going to go there, and, you know. But I wouldn't tell people not to watch it. I realize it's getting a lot of hate. Some of the hate that I'm seeing, I'll be honest, and it's just hate. I wouldn't say the acting is, like, terrible or anything in this, like they've gone off on. One of the ladies they have a problem with, God, I should have looked up her name because I hate even referring to her this way, but it's the dwarf prince's wife, and she's black. But, oh my God, she does this thing where she sings to the mountain, and it is probably one of the most beautifulest things I have ever heard. So it's kind of like I'm glad they put that in there. Bravo, you know. It was just beautiful. So I think a lot of the hate, like I said, is just hate right now. And I will admit, like I said, the first episode's very slow. And so if people quit after the first episode, I can see why they're thinking what they do right now. So other than the hate, I never can agree with hate. So yeah, I'm caught up on that. Their Supernatural's prequel is supposed to be starting soon. I'm gonna
give it the old
I don't know.
3-episode checkout.
I will do the 3 episodes. I'm confused on a timeline here because they said this was when Dean went off to find his dad, and this was like what he found off and what he found out, and it's kind of like, when? We have accounted for Dean for 15 years, you know. We know what he's done, what he's been doing. So when did he find time to go off by himself and make this big discovery? You know, so it's kind of like, but for Dean, for Jensen, I'll look over that and I'll see, because I think he's gone to the cast and pretty much told them, don't fuck it up, you know. We've given you some, one of the biggest shows to stand on right now, so don't fuck it up. And I hope it's not fucked up. Like I said, I'll give it a chance.
Of course you will. It's Jensen.
It's Jensen, yeah. I think it would have made more sense, though, to bring Sam back, too, or Jared with him, because then the timeline would have been a little bit more easier to explain. This was one of the times that they went off, you know. But to make it Dean by himself, the only time Dean was by himself was when Sam was in hell. And he was with a girl named Lisa. And it was probably, the most boring time he had in his life. I hate to say, I mean, he was happy. He was happy there. He thought his brother was dead. So he kind of moved on in a different path. And, of course, Sam wasn't dead and blah, blah, blah. But I'm thinking that's the only time that we don't really have a full account. So it may go back to that time, which will bring Lisa and Ben back, which is kind of cool, too. Because he had to finally give her up because of what he does. So.
Also, this is gonna fall on completely deaf ears, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Be careful how much of the speculating you do, because you're gonna get yourself to a point where you're expecting a story because that's what you've decided in your head it should be, and it's not that at all. And I mean, what's the likelihood that that's just gonna piss you off?
Right. Well, I'm not sure what to expect with this series, and they can't blame you for being a fan of the show. This is the lore you have put down for us for 15 years and never diverted from. That's one of the great things about Supernatural is when
that one show that lasted 43 years or whatever it was. This is a new show with new people in charge, but it is. It is a new
Because they
show.
even
It's
made
a new show.
point
It's got the
to
same people
pull
in it, but it's a
Yes.
new show with new people involved.
with
It
the
could be.
same theme.
You don't know that, is my point. And that's what I'm getting at, is that you can't really be sure of that until you see it.
Well, that's what they've told us.
Yeah, well.
And seeing it, and what they've told us so far, because I listened. Well, I don't know if it's a podcast. They do it on YouTube.
It can be a podcast
It's called
on YouTube.
the Wayward Winchesters, and they do a lot of this stuff from the cons and stuff that they go to, and they've had interviews with them and that. So pretty much anything you want to hear, what's current with Supernatural. But anyways, while they've been at the cons, the way that Dean has explained what this show will be was this is his mom and dad. And when, Dad went away on a hunting trip and never came home, that was the big line for Supernatural. That's what brought Sam back to Dean and, the whole thing starting. But what's confusing me is when we find out about Sam, or, Dean's mom, we found out that she was actually the hunter. And that John, the dad, didn't know. And so when she died the way that she did, that threw him in this thing, to where he had to find what killed her, and that's what brought him into the hunting world. Okay, which is cool. And it explains his obsession that he had and why he would make his kids go through all that. But anyway, now we've got this prequel that's now telling us that John and Mary did this together. They were hunters together.
So they're already changing the lore. This is where I'm going with this. They're already changing the lore. Don't get pissed off when they change it more to fit this new show. That's my point.
And see, the thing
and this is not the only show that's done that.
Right.
Or franchise. Hello, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Hello, Star Trek.
Like I said, 3 episodes in, I will give it 3 episodes, but I, as much as I love Jensen, I won't allow a new TV show to ruin what I have. I know that sounds stupid, but I have, what I know is Supernatural.
It doesn't sound stupid. It sounds selfish, but to an extent, I mean, it's okay that it's selfish.
Yeah.
You want to keep that in your head and in your heart, and that's fine.
The way it happened. For 15 years of my life, that's the way it happened.
I felt the same way. I'm not going to lie. I felt the same way about when they rebooted Star Trek back in, 2009?
Mm-hmm.
I watched the first movie. It didn't really sit with me all that well. I didn't like it much because I didn't need it. I didn't need a retelling of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I also made the mistake of watching the second movie. Which just downright pissed me off. But anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, You liked the original.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm agreeing with you. Yes.
The reboots,
Exactly. I'm agreeing with you on this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm like I said, I am excited to see where that goes. And there was something else I had pulled up, but I lost it. So that's all I got.
Well, we got out of that in under half an hour. That's good.
Yeah.
All righty, Mikey.
Yeah. I'm gonna be very, very vague because I'm going to mention that we did some interesting stuff this weekend. That y'all will hear in a couple of weeks, probably in a week or two from the time this drops. If all goes according to plan, it'll be fun. It was certainly exciting.
And new.
Oh, damn it. I should have used a different word there. But anyway, I keep using that word and I keep getting that thrown at me. But anyway, yeah, other than that, I mean, I've just been trying to prep for. We got a lot going on in October here. We got a lot of fun happening.
Spooky month.
It's gonna be entertaining. There, see, I didn't use the word again.
Which one?
I'm not. Nope, you're not getting me with that one.
What word was that?
Nope. But yeah,
Okay.
so kind of a gloss over, but you know, that's because I don't want to spoil stuff.
Yeah, right.
And also, life has been biting me in the ass for a few days now, and I don't want to think about it.
Amen.
All right. Les.
I had an interesting weekend. Went to see a play over at the Eisman Center in Richardson. And if you're a rock and roll fan, it was well worth the time. I am a rock and roll fan, but I have seen a similar program to this one that I believe was much better. Nothing against the entertainers in this one, but I'd seen one that was a little more precise with the story, and that to me, it makes a big difference. The program that I went to see was One Night in Memphis, and the one that I was hoping to see was the $1 Million Quartet. In 1956, December of 56, Carl Perkins, songwriter, singer, was at a recording studio in Memphis, and he had 3 buddies come by. Those 3 buddies were Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, and Elvis Presley.
Oh, those old guys?
Those old guys.
Anyway.
It's an interesting story, and to think that they actually sat down and recorded a song together is pretty cool. The story to me was fascinating. To have all of that talent at one location for a period of time is astounding. If you get a chance to see this, be sure to, because it's a lot of fun. We were probably one of the youngest groups, or youngest couples there. When they came to the end of the program, it was a mad dash to the exit, but we stood our ground. We said we can wait this out. But yeah, it's fun. You get to hear a lot of music, and the entertainers were good. They held up for the part of the program. Had you laughing, had you cheering, had you standing up, listening to the songs. So if you get the chance, it's worth the time.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
Excuse me. For me, were you through, Les? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry about that.
No.
For me, I kind of went down a couple rabbit holes on YouTube during our time off. One, I can't remember how I came across it. I think I was looking for something else, but I've actually been checking out some of these shows that are. I think they call a lot of them call themselves urban researchers or what, I can't remember now. Essentially what they do is they're exploring abandoned buildings, whether it's homes or retail stores or stuff like that. It's I saw one where it was like it's a home in Canada, a house that was like built during the Civil War and had been turned into a assisted living or a senior citizen facility, but it's been closed for almost 15 years or something like that. And it's kind of interesting seeing some of that stuff, just seeing and kind of thinking about what these places were before and what was left behind and all that. But some of these people, they kind of, some of them got on my nerves real quick. There was a really interesting one. I'll see if I can find the link, and so we put it in show notes. But they toured a deserted military base in Northern California. That was like during the 50s, and it's been abandoned and no one to do anything because there's chemicals in the ground and that kind of stuff. But it was kind of interesting looking at that and seeing, this is like, okay, this is California. Land is a premium, but this thing, no one's doing anything. No one's touching this. And it's a pretty big facility. Look, it was big enough to house families and all that kind of stuff. So, but some of these have been really kind of interesting, kind of just seeing, you see the news about, real estate properties, the prices going out the roof, and here's a building that, closed a couple of years ago due to the pandemic, and it looks fine. It looks like it's, ready just to do a little cleanup and this, that, and the other, and it can be operating again. But the way things are, obviously, with the economy and all that, now's not the time, but it's been kind of interesting, kind of looking at some of these buildings and stuff. And with me spending so much time on YouTube, I did not realize this, and maybe you guys had. There's a lot of high school football that stream on YouTube on Friday nights.
Yeah, there is.
All over the country. But I don't look for it.
Well, I didn't look for it either. I just, you just click on the option of live and you see what's all available. Because I've been kind of watching some of this stuff. I've always been kind of a people watcher, just, see people walking by and kind of thinking about what's going on in their lives or something like that. But, I saw YouTube, and I watched some of them. It's kind of fun watching some of that, but I realized that there's some people who can announce football games, and there's some that they can't. Just like anything else. Some of them, it's been like listening to news on a blackboard, Oh, God. So you mute, watch something. So that's been pretty much my thing. It's been on YouTube a lot, just kind of looking at different stuff.
It's easy to fall in them holes on YouTube.
YouTube is a big rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess more specifically, billions of small rabbit holes.
Yeah. So.
But you can find some interesting things in there too.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
That's what keeps you falling.
Yep. Okay, before we get into this week's discussion, do you want to bring up the fact that we do have a Discord? It's been up for a couple of years now. You're more than welcome to come join us. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, some fun stuff. videos, memes, stuff to make you laugh. Some make you cringe, like that swing.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. That looked like fun.
Shoot.
Same for me. I want it.
Y'all go first.
Yeah.
I'll be heading back the other way.
My only problem is that you probably have to travel to get to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hike up a mountain.
I'd rather ride on that swing than get on the airplane I'd have to go on to get there.
That's true. Yeah.
That was what, China?
I don't remember where that was.
I don't remember being able to tell from the picture or from the video.
I would have to go back to that because that actually came from a tweet, so I would actually have to take a look at that and see. But I don't. Yeah, it's definitely not in the U.S. Sign up for Discord is free. The app is available in all the stores, and it's free as well. We do have an open invite on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. And so you like listening to the podcast and want to hang out with us, we're there most of the time. So come join us today.
Yeah.
Alrighty. As we've already been mentioned, we are starting Horror Month. Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
I think some of us have been really looking forward to this.
At least one of us.
At least one, especially this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
The theme for this month is scarecrows, and this is based off of something Liz had said earlier here. So she mentioned Scarecrow, but more of the Batman villain.
Yep.
But it got me the idea of like, hey, let's do a Scarecrow theme for Horror Month for October. So I went through and did a list, and surprisingly, a lot of the Scarecrow films are from the last 20 plus years. Now, obviously, the one we're talking about tonight is actually from 1981, and from what I saw, this is the first film that's actually focusing on the Scarecrow as, I don't know if you want to call it the monster or the threat or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that. But yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a few in between 81 to 2000, but it seems like a lot of them have come out since 2000. So it's kind of surprising. And we kind of mentioned this the other day when we were working on this, the other thing that you'll be finding out, you'll be hearing in a couple of weeks. That it seems kind of crazy that it took so long for that to happen, for filmmakers to actually kind of for it to done on them that scarecrows, hey, they can be great, they can be scary.
Yep.
I mean that's their intention, is to scare. Now, granted, it's to scare crows, but
aren't we all just crows at heart? I mean, come on.
Sure.
Not really, but it's cool.
Where the hell did that come from?
Oh, lots and lots of not sleeping. But anyway.
So which one are you, Heckle or Jekyll?
Oh, definitely a Jekyll, man.
Okay, all right.
No question.
So we are starting off with the 1981 film, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. This was originally supposed to be made for video, but at the last minute it was decided it was going to be made for TV, so there were some changes made to the script. And the script was by J.D. Feigelson, and it stars Larry Drake, Charles Durning, Lane Smith. A pre-Perry White Lane Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's go ahead and start talking about Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
If I may say something to
Sure.
start,
Okay.
I want to commend. Let me remember her name. Leslie Carton. I want to send out a special thanks to Leslie Carton, who was the designer of the costumes for this movie. Mm-hmm. Getting to see Charles Durning in the same outfit for a whole damn movie. And the only difference is if he wore his hat, then he was in military garb. The rest of the time, he was just himself. This drove me crazy.
Well, and I absolutely love the red hat with white polka dots too. That was pretty good costume design.
Dude, he was a small town mailman. Of course, he's going to wear the mail uniform all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. You don't have to worry about continuity then.
Yeah.
No, that's true. What do I wear for this scene? Oh, come on now, you know.
Oh, you just hope he was joking about it on set too.
Yeah.
It's just I just really want to think that he was like, he would like come up to the director occasionally and say, "Hey, when do I need to change costume?"
Yeah.
Hey, don't you remember that I played the Pope one time?
Oh man.
That's all. Thank you.
Oh, I think I'm getting a sense of where this is going to go.
We'll see.
I actually liked this one.
I did too.
There's not too often when you find a horror movie where they take the bad guy and make him the hero. I mean, you know. A little breakdown of the story. There is a guy, Bubba Ritter, who is played by Larry Drake, who did an amazing job, by the way, playing him. But he's a little simple-minded, and he has a little friend who's teaching him his ABCs and that kind of thing, and she goes to pick a flower and gets attacked by a dog. So he busts in and saves her, but not before the town thinks that he hurt her, and, you know, these three guys, Skeeter, Philby, and I cannot remember the other guy. Who was Lane Smith? Arliss.
Skeeter.
Yep. Skeeter. They all go off to find this guy because they always mess with him because he is simple. And they find him, and he's hiding from them, and he's a scarecrow. So they wind up killing him, which just coincidentally, no sooner had the smoke cleared from the gun, they get a call and say, hey, you know, they called this off because actually he saved her life. You know, he saved her from the dog and ran her to where she needed to, you know, get help and everything. Well, they've already killed this guy, so they make it look like he had a pitchfork, which I still don't understand how the hell that worked, but that he had a pitchfork and that he was threatening them while dressed as a scarecrow tied to a post. Yeah, you know, real threatening there. So they get away with it, and his mama tells them, you know, there's other justice in this world than the law, you know. Well, shortly things start happening. People start dying, you know, especially these guys, only these guys. Well, and Mama. That was pretty sad. I guess she had a heart attack. You know, I'm not sure how that worked.
Maybe we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end you find out that he was the scarecrow and he came back, blah, blah, blah. I liked it. Like I said, I think he had every right to kill those guys. especially what they did to him and how cruel they were to him even beforehand. So it was kind of one of those things that I could see some people not liking it because, like with, I hate to mention Les's favorite director here, but kind of like with Rob Zombie did with Halloween, how he made the hero, or not the hero, but he made the serial killer likable. Gave him a story, gave him that backstory. So when he's killing these people, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, they deserved it. That's totally what this movie is. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, they fucked around with the wrong scarecrow. You know?
See, my brain came at this from the other direction. The way I saw it, they spent the first 20 minutes of this movie establishing who the villain was, but made it perfectly clear that it wasn't the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The villain in this movie was the mailman.
Yeah, Charles Turning.
Very Otis. It was very clear that he was, because he was the ringleader. He was the guy who was there telling the three idiots what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the guy who lied on the stand to get them off on the murder rap.
Oh, please don't talk about that.
So,
yeah.
God, that whole court scene was painful to watch.
It was ridiculous.
No. And it's so quick. You guys realize that? This happened within the span of a week. And they already went to trial, found not guilty, you know, like the next day. Because if not, that little girl slept for months.
Right. Yeah,
so
it was.
They moved quick.
Yeah, it wasn't entirely realistic in that sense, for sure.
No.
But I mean, the point was to make the point without dragging it out too much, because they'd already dragged it out 20 minutes with the beginning.
And, you know, they could have skipped ahead in time a little bit, and the way they could have done that was by not making the little girl just now waking up from after all this, you know?
Right.
Because they said she was fine.
Right.
So.
It was a questionable story choice, for sure. But
yeah, that part definitely was.
It was also very kind of made for TV.
Yeah.
In that story was, I don't want to say secondary, but it was not. This was more. This was driven more by character than by story, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's a very simple story. It's a revenge story, and you know that's fine.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, clearly their bad guy was the mailman, and he was, because they set him up. I mean, little things. I mean, he was kind of the king of the boarding house where he lived, and he was
the funny guy.
He was the mailman, so he was the bastion of consistency in town, and he was well respected, and he had his image that he portrayed, which they made a very careful point of showing was fake.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody was like, oh yeah, he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke or any of this stuff, and every time you see him
drinking,
when he's
smoking,
not around other people, he's nipping on a bottle.
Yep.
Well, I thought it was interesting how when he was the one who fired first, and how he was kind of thinking and shaking, and you know, then finally closed his eyes and fired. Well, he didn't have a problem killing the rest of the people after that, did he? It's like first one's one and done, everything was easier. Kill Mama in the rocking chair, smack Homeboy with the shovel, you know.
Yep.
No.
Well, I mean, he was. It seemed to me that he was losing. He was really losing it as we got further into it.
He was unraveling for sure.
He was.
Yes.
Just the way he suspected everybody. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to mention that how quickly they thought when all this first started, you know, this group started losing its members, that, hey, it's the DA. The DA's got to be behind that. Well, no, maybe it's not him. It's got to be Mama. It's got to be Bubba's mom. because that makes a hell of a lot of sense. That she's killing all these people, plus the fact that she's mind fucking them.
She's
with
the one who
Scarecrow.
threatened them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must be her. Yeah.
Well, and like I said, the whole thing with the mindfuck with the Scarecrow, it's in their crop 1 minute, then 5 minutes later it's gone. Yeah, Mama somehow got in there and moved it all. Then it got worse because now somehow the girl was responsible. Like okay.
Well, and I thought it was about to take a very ugly, ugly turn when she was like, "I see how you look at that little girl." It was like, "Oh no. Please don't go there."
Right.
But it wasn't. It was more of a look at her because she knew what he did.
Right. She was
he looked at her with guilt because she knew what he did.
She was a threat to toppling his empire of whatever the hell it was. I don't know what he was on about.
I kind of think he was right at the end. I think it was the little girl. Because then she was like, "Let me teach you the next game. It's called chasing." You know, I think she was the one who told him, "Bubba, go get them." You know, make sure they take care of you.
I think they were very careful to not mention anything supernatural in this movie.
Other than the tractor there at the end. When they show the gears moving by itself and everything else, that you kind of, you know.
That was as close as they came.
Yep, that was it.
And that was in the heat of the moment of the final, basically the wrapping it all up, the end scene. That was the closest they came to making anything look supernatural.
Yep.
And even then, it's iffy.
But that was probably the closest. Well, the explosion of the house. This movie had no special effects, and it was still pretty good.
Right.
You know,
it was just. I mean, it was exactly what you would expect from a made-for-TV movie from the early '80s in terms of a horror movie. Because anytime you get to a kill scene, the camera just slowly pans away from it.
Yep.
And you hear some screaming, and then it goes dark.
You're led to
it's almost
assume
you almost expect to see it like run the credits from Days of Our Lives or something.
Yeah.
It was so made for TV. I thought that part of it was kind of funny for me. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting study of kind of the unraveling of Otis's mind through the whole process. He was just terrible too. Oh my God! I mean, full-blown credit to Charles Durning. He acted up a storm in this movie.
He did.
He utterly carried this movie by himself and did a phenomenal job with practically nothing. I mean, a few generic story ideas was basically all he had, and the fact that he was just this essentially crazy person, delusions of grandeur and all of this in this tiny little town. Yeah, he did a lot with it.
Yeah. So I liked this one.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if I'd go back to it much, but yeah, I'm glad I saw it.
I mean, even with its problems, it's still, it was still kind of an enjoyable film. I liked it, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that whole problem with the costumes, you know.
Yeah, right.
So we have one in plaid and the other one in mailman suit.
And the other guy in the
didn't blow their budget
basically
there.
the jumpsuit that he wore at the garage.
The garage, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other guy in the polyester pants. So I don't think they changed.
They did not want anybody to get confused about who these characters were, so they kept them in costume the whole time.
Yeah. The most costume changes came from the little girl.
Right, and she's only on screen 3 times or something, 4 times. One of them is because she's at a friggin' Halloween party, and so she's wearing a costume, you know?
Right.
And so that's her excuse.
You know, I sat here after watching the movie and kind of reflecting on it. It's like, you know, as much as we always bash the idea, I think there's enough here that if someone went back reworked it. I could see this as maybe like a short run series. That way you can work on the story a little bit more, add some more detail. How about a little bit more focus on the DA as the possible killer, or something like that?
Well, and you could add more characters because it's a small town, but there's only about 8
You're only
people
talking
in
about
this movie.
6 to 8. Yeah.
And honestly, Larry Drake, God bless him, is only in it for about 15 minutes, and
right, and then it's someone else for the rest of the
you
film.
don't see him again, right? I mean, he's gone after basically the opening scene.
Well, hasn't he played a part before where he was like a simple guy?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, L.A. Law.
Yeah. Well, no, this was another movie. I was mistaken. I was thinking it was like Of Mice and Men, and that he was Lenny. But it wasn't that, but it was some movie that was kind of like that, where he would have been like the Lenny guy.
He was also the bad guy in Dark Man, which we watched a ways back.
Yep.
And we can't forget Dr. Giggles.
No matter how hard we try.
But not to harp on his performance, but I am. A lot of times when you have someone play a person who's special needs, sometimes it comes off very mocking and crude instead of natural, which it would be. I'm not an actor, but when you see people,
play one on TV.
The way that he kind of took it and the way that he made it, and I've seen a couple other people, Dustin Hoffman nailed it, but that's what I enjoyed about his performance, is the part that he was playing. He didn't like overplay it and make it seem like he was so, not that he was special needs, but stupid, which is some routes that sometimes the movies will take you, that he's stupid. No, he's not stupid. He's special needs, which is different. At that point, he knew right from wrong, and he helped the little girl, He couldn't verbally say it, but so yeah, like I said, I really commend people who can come in and step in and they're respectful with that, to where they can actually play that part and not, just, like I said, sometimes it does come across very mocking instead of the way it should be. Mm-hmm. So I think he handled that better than well.
Others, and yes. He did it well. I mean, and he like Tom said, he did it for a long time on L.A. Law.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I like it when they do that. And honestly, I didn't think he was. I kind of thought Skeeter was kind of special too. He wasn't too smart either. So
no,
not particularly right.
They shouldn't have been hating on him because he wasn't smart. I think they hated on him because it's easy to kick someone like that.
Mm-hmm. Big
heart, wants to be everybody's friend.
Right, but not necessarily any social graces. And
right.
He's not. Put simply, he's not us.
Right.
And that's that's all some people need.
Yeah, which is sad, but yeah.
It is.
It happens.
Well, Les, your thoughts other than the costumes?
It was an enjoyable movie. I'm not going to fall into the process of who the killer really was. I think it was the spiritual being. There was the supernatural part.
Yeah.
It wasn't the girl. It wasn't the lawyer. These idiots were guilty of a crime, and it was a revenge movie. That's all it was. A show of hands, how many people didn't even think that the final death would come when someone threatened the girl.
Yeah.
It was too predictable.
I kind of thought his death would come when he killed Mama. That's what I thought, because that was his mom, you know. But he seemed to have gotten more upset over his little friend than his mama.
Yeah. The means of death were unique. The Skeeter could have died underneath a truck.
He
I
should
could
have.
see the jack being kicked out.
It sure looked like that's the way they were going too. That was good on them for throwing a curveball there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And death by corn was like, wow.
Well,
Kind of corny, but hey.
Oh, wow.
Oh, God.
I'm going to say it was wheat, but okay.
It was corny, yeah.
I thought that was different. At that time, that had not been tried that I recall. So it was a vengeance movie, and that's what I took it as from this very start.
Yeah.
When they were spying on him, when the ringleader was spying on them. Yeah, he was a pedophile. That's it, plain and simple. He was watching her. He wasn't watching the man. He was watching the little girl.
So that's where she was going with, I see how you look at her.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I was hoping that tractor would run over him. The way they were showing those pumpkins getting cut up, I was looking forward to seeing him get cut up like that.
Freaking cruel. Run the son of a bitch over.
Yeah. I mean, if he's looking at little girls, pumpkin time.
Or mince meat, if you wish.
Yep. And you know, the first death with the chipper, other than turning it on and off, he really didn't do anything. Homeboy was up there and kind of slipped and fell, so he did, other than turning it on and off, he didn't do anything to him.
And they made it perfectly obvious that he was under the influence.
Yep.
He was hitting that bottle pretty hard at the beginning of that scene.
Yep.
Yep.
So
and then chunks it to the side,
clearly drunk, climbing around up in the loft of that barn.
Yep.
And
Big Sam was up there.
I was sad he was the first to go. I like Lane Smith, and I was hoping that he would, that they would take one of the lesser people out.
Like Philby.
Philby would have been a nice first, or even, but no, you can't do Skeeter that way because he died at the hands of
Otis.
Yeah.
Of Otis, and sorry about the spoilers, gang, but
for a 40-year-old movie, yeah. Which is apparently hard to get hold of, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I think I found it on Tubi.
Yeah, it is on Tubi.
So.
Yeah. And on YouTube. I watched it on YouTube with no commercials.
Okay.
Wow, you can't give up 15 seconds or something out of a movie?
No.
Wow.
15 seconds to my ADD is like an hour.
All it takes for her to be, ooh, squirrel.
Or on Google, searching, what was that guy? What's it,
Yeah.
That's what I hate. You watch a movie and you wind up watching, falling down the rabbit hole of, who is Larry Drake? What has he played in again? Oh, let's watch that movie instead.
It's got to be better than this one.
Well, maybe.
Dark Man, Kinda.
Oh wow. Yeah, I have to admit Lane Smith was the guy in the movie that I was like, I know that guy. Who the hell is that guy? I couldn't put it together in my head until afterwards I looked it up. I was like, that's why I remember that face. Okay. It was the face.
He's the face.
I didn't get the name, but I saw the face and I was like, I've seen that guy somewhere.
Well, and he's usually the bad
A-Team?
guy.
A-Team, that's good. I'm bad with names, unfortunately.
And as much as I liked this movie, for being a Scarecrow movie, they didn't show a lot of the Scarecrow.
No, they didn't. They did a lot of, I think, slight misdirect on that.
Yeah.
I think that was part of my thing about avoiding the supernatural stuff in the movie, was because when you see the Scarecrow, it's not moving until the end. And so
and even that, you don't see the whole Scarecrow, you just see the hand move,
Mm-hmm. Be very careful about that.
Yeah, I think they could have played that up a little better. Scarecrows in itself can be a scary element, and I think what makes them so scary is the bag over their face. You can't see your enemy. That's what makes it. We've often talked on this show how part of what makes something so great is because of how our mind makes it. When you see a Scarecrow, your mind is automatically, is there worms under there? Is it, Phantom of the Opera kind of guy? Why has he got a bag over his face? So just that element alone is kind of spooky and scary.
Right. Or is there even a person in there?
Yeah, and they missed right over that. They could have played that so much better.
They could have, but again, made for TV. They can't. Yeah. There's a lot they can't do. There's a lot they can't get away with. And given the time frame on this, clearly they were trying to ride the coattails of Halloween.
Yeah.
The slasher movies were going through a huge resurgence by '81. So this was a blatant attempt for CBS to cash in. Can you blame them for it? Not really.
No.
But they do
That's
have
what
to.
Was popular.
They have to be very careful with that. They basically made a slasher movie with almost no violence at all in it here.
Yeah.
Which is a feat in and of itself, I think.
Yeah.
Whether they should have or not, I leave that up to the viewer. But
yeah,
it's an interesting juggling act.
I also liked that this was a movie with a bad scare, or a quote bad scarecrow in it, and it had nothing, absolutely nothing at all to do with any harvest, any solstice, any witches, or you know what I'm saying? None of that was involved with it. So it was I think that's what made me like this one better. Is they didn't fall into the normal traps that you do on something like that.
I can maybe help a little on that. 1981 was kind of it didn't all happen in 1981, but it's kind of when the Satanic Panic was happening.
Yeah.
So there would have been a big push against supernatural stuff of any kind.
That's true. That is true.
So I think that's at least part of why they were really cagey about that stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to piss off anybody.
Well, and like I said, good for them, because it kept them away from the normal trap that these movies will fall into. Mm-hmm. You can only do so much around a harvest,
Mm-hmm. We will get into a whole bunch of that as we keep going here, for sure. Mm-hmm. We will see plenty of those things.
Some of them can take that story and do it well, though. So I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, but,
Absolutely. Some
because
of
those that have done it well that make some of these others like, really?
Right.
you're going to go there.
Right. Well, then that's going to be true of any story that you tell in a movie. Is some of it sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's just not. And
Yep.
I mean, they were real careful with it here, so it actually kind of sort of worked in its own very tame way.
Yep.
This is like the
80s
least
movie?
scary horror movie we've ever watched, I think.
Yeah.
As
Well,
a
because this
podcast.
is kind of one of those that instead of making the viewer kind of break down in their mind of, their own scary story here, we actually get to see that being done to the character of how their mind can just,
Mm-hmm.
But for an 80s movie, no blood, no boobs, no, normal crap, special effects that you found in the 80s movies. I think they did really good on this one. I didn't know it was made for TV until you said that, so I can definitely tell now that you say that it was, but yeah.
They actually made a genuinely creepy movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had to go to some interesting lengths to do it, but they made a genuinely creepy movie without blood and guts and gore and boobies.
Yep.
Does any other TV movie give you that feeling?
Well, nowadays they can push the envelope more with TV movies. We've seen a lot of Stephen King, turned into TV movies and stuff. So I don't know. I can't really remember them putting out a TV movie for Halloween recently.
Yeah, I would almost go so far as to say the age of the TV movie is over.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so far beyond TV. I mean, when you were doing TV movies, TV was king. I mean, it was either the only options you had were to watch TV or to actually pay money and go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
That is not the case anymore. You can get all kinds of crazy shit now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So many more options.
Well, there are two movies that come to mind that were made for public broadcast. One was a movie with Andy Griffith. And I want to say it was named Gargoyles.
Huh. Andy Griffith?
Yeah. And the other was a movie by Steven Spielberg, which I still consider one of the best movies ever.
Duel.
And in Duel, you didn't see who the driver was. Not once.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Wasn't Jeepers Creepers kind of like that too? You never saw who the driver of the car was?
I'm drawing a blank.
I could be wrong.
I'm drawing a pretty pony.
Truck. Now I've got the My Little Pony theme song running through my head. Hey.
You're welcome.
If that's not horror enough. Yeah.
What was the one you were talking about, Les, that was with Andy Griffith?
I want to say Gargoyles.
When I type in Andy Griffith horror, I get Savages, Winter Kill.
Yeah, I was just thinking
Mr. Chicken and a face in the crowd.
Winter Kill is one of them. I was thinking you were going to go with when you mentioned Andy Griffith, because that was a TV movie where, I mean, the synopsis here is a sniper is killing residents at a winter resort. Who will die next and why? And he played a sheriff.
Huh.
Is
play a sheriff? No way.
Well, I mean,
What a stretch.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. This is kind of his. He's playing the sheriff. He hasn't done that before. But the fact that it was kind of switching him over to more of the serious stuff that you would see later on in his career.
That's right.
It's true.
And what were you going to say, Les?
Is there a listing for a movie called Gargoyles?
I'm looking for it right now.
Thanks.
There's Frosty's Winter Wonderland.
That was probably it.
Yeah.
Close enough, anyway.
Mm-hmm. I don't see anything for Gargoyles.
Okay.
But I remember there being a couple of films made for TV where it was. I've only seen bits and pieces, but it definitely had a more of a kind of that kind of vibe to it. He's playing a sheriff, yet it's more of a mystery, suspense type stuff, and obviously not Mayberry. And those are ones I would love to watch because I would like to see how good they were. Because I mean, he was pretty good as Matlock.
True.
There's one here called The Demon Murder Case, where he plays a demonologist. Sounds pretty good. I think I may watch that one.
There's a couple here that are kind of interesting.
He's pretty good as the villain in Spy Hard.
That's true.
Huh. I guess I got stuck in Mayberry.
Go figure.
Here's one that, and of course now we've done the tangent on the Andy Griffith's career.
Big time.
But we're having fun. Salvage 1. Have y'all heard about this one?
Wasn't that a space movie?
It was. Yeah, he's like a junk man, but he had this idea of building a spaceship out of his junk to go to the moon to salvage the stuff that was left on the moon.
Yeah, it's a one season TV series.
Yeah, 19 episodes.
79.
Mm-hmm. I give it points for being different.
Also for jumping on the Star Wars bandwagon, but whatever.
Yeah, kind of loosely. I mean,
it's just the space thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
We should talk
check
about
it
that
out.
movie.
Yeah, I definitely tell people to check that one out.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. It would be a good intro to horror movies, I think, for somebody.
Yeah.
And pay attention to the costumes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Don't want to miss that action.
Well, and even the Scarecrow wasn't bad in this one. And it mold his face into it or anything, it looked like a scarecrow.
It looked like a burlap sack stuffed with something, yeah.
Like it's supposed to.
Right. Fair enough.
All right. On that note, I guess we're going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back. It's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week, I believe it is Les. Is it your turn?
Correct.
And myself. So, Les, would you like to lead off?
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
This is an opinion piece. There are a few items that are hitting the airwaves now, and whether it be movie theaters or TV or streaming, and I just want an opinion. This past week on Disney Plus, I believe, was the release of Hocus Pocus 2.
Ah.
And,
I did not know that.
or it's coming up very soon. Either way. Also soon is the return, the new version of Quantum Leap with new characters.
Yeah, the first episode's already come out, and by the time this airs, probably episode 2 is probably out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and
on
by the
Peacock,
then by
right?
the time, huh?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was.
Go ahead, sir.
The Hocus Pocus opens on the 30th of September. The other one that I noticed is in December, Netflix will have the movie Glass Onion coming out. Glass Onion is the sequel to Knives Out, which is, to me, very funny. One of Daniel Craig's best movies, because he gets to be a little absurd. Now, the question I pose is, of the 3 movies, or 2 movies and a TV series, which is going to garner more excitement? Which one is going to be the one people are waiting for? Personally, I don't think it's going to be Hocus Pocus 2. That is coming up on 30 years since it was released. Quantum Leap is coming up on 30 years for the last segments. Their last season was 93, 94. And of course, the Knives Out is coming out.
That's only a few years old, isn't it?
2 at the max.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I'm going to go with first is Glass Onion, second is Quantum Leap, and third is Hocus Pocus. What is your thinking, and what do you think will be the thought process of the public?
I say Hocus Pocus, just because there's. I think it'll be the first Hocus Pocus and what's the TV series again? Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap.
I think those 2, because although they've been 30 years plus out of public view and everything else, what they're hitting on there is nostalgia. You know, for me, I remember watching Hocus Pocus with the kids when they were little and everything else. So I'm gonna watch it again just to see how bad they make it.
Right. You're familiar enough with it that you can enjoy the train wreck that you expect it to be.
Right,
Sure.
but I'm not one of those die-hard Hocus Pocus fans. The movie was okay.
Are there
When it
die-hard
first
Hocus
came
Pocus
out?
fans?
Oh,
Yes, there is.
Oh, God.
There is.
Was Bruce Willis in that?
But right now, my horror group.
That becomes her. That's
is
what
all
that movie
talking.
was.
So I think it'll be Hocus Pocus, honestly. Only I didn't watch Knives Out though, so I don't know about that.
You want to go next, Mikey?
My answer is fairly simple. I wholeheartedly agree with Liz about the nostalgia thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a damn about any of them. So.
public-wise, yeah, I mean, I would put Hocus Pocus first because there is the whole nostalgia and everybody's excited about that. I would put the Knives Out sequel next. Because I know a lot of people really liked that film. I wish I had seen it. I have not seen it. I would like to see it. I've heard a lot of good things about it. And then Quantum Leap third, because I've already seen the response from fans from the first episode that it was not well received. Plus the fact that you got Scott Bakula saying, "Yeah, I want no part of this." You know, they hadn't asked me, and that's okay because I don't want to be a part of it, and that's fine. So, so when you get the star from the original show going, "Yeah, no, thank you," then, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, for me personally, yeah, like I said, I want to see Knives Out. So, I've heard enough positive stuff that. Sure, I'm kind of interested in the sequel too. I never seen Hocus Pocus, never really had the interest to. So, if everybody wants to see it, that's great. Hope you have a great time. Hope you enjoy it. And Quantum Leap, same thing. So.
Yeah. I was watching on Peacock the other day. Oh, New Amsterdam, my doctor show that I watch. Normally, you could watch that on Hulu. But Hulu's made it now where you can't watch that on Hulu. It has to be Hulu Live TV, which is like $65 a month. No, thank you. Or you have to go over to Peacock and watch it now for free. So $65 a month or Peacock for free.
Yeah, but I bet they have commercials on Peacock for free, huh?
Well,
yeah.
I was about to say I do pay for the premium service for no commercials, so
right.
It's not free, but it's not $65 a month.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send migrants to your place.
Wow.
So, does that answer your question, Les?
Yeah. Not what I wanted, but okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah, you should know better than that by now. Jeez.
Everybody has their own opinion, just like a navel.
Yeah, and other orifices too. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I was watching The Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. I didn't watch it on YouTube. I watched it on Peacock. Duh. Okay.
Oh, it was on Peacock?
Just to clarify, I lied. Yes, it was on Peacock.
Interesting. Didn't know that. Cool.
But it is on YouTube too, so.
Well, it's on Tubi
It's
as well.
also on Tubi.
Yep.
Tubi or not Tubi?
I think it was
That's
part
no
of the
question.
Halloween stuff that they put on Peacock.
What was that?
I think it's part of their Halloween stuff that they put over on Peacock.
Makes sense.
Wait, they put stuff up for Halloween right around Halloween time?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And some good stuff too. We're talking Alfred Hitchcock, Frankenstein, the werewolf, Invisible Man.
Their wolf, their castle.
No, Brooks, congratulations.
Hello, Liz, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
She's just absorbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zerby Jr.
Yeah, they call it the countdown to Halloween horror.
Countdown, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Sesame Street. Okay.
One bad joke. Two bad jokes.
You know, I follow him over on Twitter, and the only thing he does is says, today's 3,562. That's it. That's all he posts. So.
Go figure.
Yeah. I thought it was a cute stick.
It was. Yep.
Okay. For me, this came down today. It's interesting report. Disney and Marvel Studios are thinking about what they're going to do regarding Black Panther 2 in France. They may not release the film in the country, and the reason is there is a law that says that the film cannot go to streaming services for 17 months after its originally released. And because of that, they may not release the film there.
Wait. What?
There's a law in the books in France where a film cannot be put on streaming services for 17 months after it's originally released.
Okay.
That has to be
So basically
law.
a year and a half.
Yeah.
So now it's been on the books for a while, and Disney apparently has dealt with this before, but now they're thinking they may not release the film in France because of this law.
Which would put indirect pressure on France to get rid of the law.
Yeah.
Because their citizens want to see the movie.
I could kind of see that, though, because Disney right now is really pumping their streaming service, and they've put a lot of money into it, you know, and if that would hinder them from their streaming service, I could see them doing that. Like, no,
right.
You know.
It takes control of their streaming service and how they release movies out of their hands.
Yeah.
Which Disney doesn't like.
Well, and now instead of 17 months for France to see this, they can put it on their streaming service and, you know, they can see it sooner.
And not have to worry about blocking it just from France. IP addresses.
Yep.
I thought this was interesting. And 17 months is a long time.
That used to be about standard, yeah. If once it hit, you know, the movie theater, it would take a long time before you could rent it. I'm going to show my age.
Yeah, but that's been shrinking for several years now.
Yeah, that has gotten down below a year and a half a long time ago. Even for video stuff.
I was going to say, there at the end of the video stores, it was about 6 to 8 months.
I was about to say 6 months, yeah. So you're talking about 3 times as long as it would be released anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some lawmaker in France got a bug up his butt and decided to do something about it. Interesting. It kind of doesn't surprise me that Disney's the one who's going to take up the challenge.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely going to be worth watching because this film's supposed to come out in November.
Mm-hmm.
And what film is it?
Black Panther 2.
Oh, yeah. Shit. They're going to have a riot.
So there's, yeah.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this is coming out, so there's going to be pressure to, yeah, like you said, remove that from the books or work something out, which if they work something out, then
you might as well remove the law from the book.
You might as well remove the law from the, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But luckily...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Les.
But luckily this is just for their release in France, and it's not going to overrun the world.
Yeah.
They're not worried.
It won't impact the rest of us.
No. Yeah.
They'll get their money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. If they do this, it's not about money. It's about controlling when they do
control.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Totally.
It's all about control. Yeah.
Well, and never mind. That's too long. You're welcome.
No, if she says it's too long, man, it's got to be bad. Come on. She's trying not to go off on a tangent here. That's
Yep.
I'll take that.
Short version. After what we just saw in Australia with their streaming service, I could see Disney finally going, "Fuck this," what the hell, So I could see that being for them. Yes.
All right. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our regular shout-outs. First off, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. We recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who have been so kind and gracious as to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links on Twitter. The best way to go check them out is go to Twitter and do a search, #PodernFamily. Just scroll through that list, and whatever catches your eye, click on that link and download that episode. And we hope you have a good time checking them out. Thank you guys as always. I also want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying music to our podcast. There's a link in the show notes where you can check out their fine music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out there. We do have a feedback channel on our Discord, so if you join there, you can post your comments there, and we'll respond. Social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We're on Instagram now, @FellowshipGeeks. That is also our Twitter handle. You can follow us both places. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, and be sure to watch the movie we just reviewed.
And that is, what is it again? Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, yes.
Oh,
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
That was the Blob, but okay.
or the Black Hole, yeah.
Jesus.
We appreciate you listening, everybody. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @FellowshipGeeks. Until next time,